uh, for y'all to get in here and start joining me. That light is bright, isn't it? That's a little better. Oh man, it's been a long week. I'll tell you guys what, it's been good though. I'm rushing around out here tonight trying to get all this stuff set up. Um, I done procrastinated too much, so I had to get a drink poured here. I had to spray with bug spray. The mosquitoes are getting so dang bad, so god awful. Trying to get in my ears. I'm sure you guys can see them flying around in front of the camera. I got all the tiki torches going, covered in deep woods off, and you still end up getting daggum bit. Tell you what. Tonight's gonna be another fun one. This is all gonna be all strictly story based, you know. A little bit of my experience on taking kids to the woods. Let's see here. Ooh, quiet neighborhood, as always. How you doing, Jaeger 1776? All right. Hit the record button and let's dive off into this thing. So, as always, the UPO Live on Air is brought to you by Deep Roots Rifle Company, elevated excellence rooted in integrity and reliability. They're a whole lot more than just custom rifles. You can get on that website under the shop tab and find everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So, hop over to their website at deeprootsrifleco.com and let's get after it. So, this week, we're going to talk about taking kids to the woods. What did I say? The when, how, why, whatever. This kind of came up in conversation when I was doing our radio show. We have a monthly segment on a radio show here local. And one of the hosts on the radio show asked me, you know, when I started taking my kids. And I've had a lot of people over the years ask me, you know, how young is too young? How old should your kid be before you go taking them to the woods, taking them hunting for the first time? And to be honest, I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer it for you. Because when it comes to the age thing, like, you know your kid better than anyone else. Now, there are some states that do require, by law, kids be a certain age, right? And I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's nothing I can do about it either. So, in those states, obviously, you're not legally allowed to carry a firearm or a bow and hunt until you're whatever that set age is, 11 or 12. I prefer less youth restrictions and more youth seasons. But I started taking my son, who's about to be 9, I started carrying him. Well, for one, the kid could cast a fishing pole before he could walk. Like, quite literally, before he could walk, we had him sitting in a folding chair in the front yard of our house, slinging a little kiddie pole with a rattle trap with no hooks on it. He just cast it out and reel it back in, cast it out and reel it back in. Kid loves to fish. But, and that was, like I said, before he was a year, he was casting a fishing pole. I'd throw him in a little backpack, even at a year old, and, you know, let him start wandering. He'd wander the woods with me and everything else doing that. So it's, but I really started taking him hunting. I guess the first time I really took him out was when he was 2, really, because he was 3 when his sister was born. So he would have been 2. We went on a, we say a quote, a muzzleloader hunt together. And I took him out during the muzzleloader season because we were on the lease we were on at that point. We didn't have a lot of guys that muzzleloader hunted, and the club other next to us, hardly any of them muzzleloader hunted, so there was hardly anybody in the woods. This private property. Took him out with his little electronic shotgun and a grunt call and a bag of snacks. And got up in this tower blind and sat there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And he blew the grunt call a few times, ate a couple bags of fruit snacks, and then says, "All right, Dad, I want to go home." We made it a whole 15, 20 minutes. So we got down, we wandered around the woods for a while, and we inevitably ended up back at the house before dark. Biggest thing that I've learned with taking kids or even adults is management of expectations, right? You've got to, I don't know that to say set your standards low is the right way to put it, but like, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself on your timeline. Make sure you can do everything that you can to keep the kid comfortable, help keep the kid entertained. If they're old enough to read, bring a book. If not, I mean, I've let my daughter sit down there and watch videos on my phone with headphones on when she gets bored, and we do that in short stints, but it keeps her there for 10 or 15 more minutes and keep her in the snacks and stuff like that. My son gradually got to the point where he would sit longer and longer and longer, and then he got a BB gun. I bought him a little Red Ryder he would start taking when he was about 4-ish, 5-ish, something like that. And then when I started letting him do that, we'd carry that, and it's just game on, man. Whatever we see out there, shooting at pine cones, shooting at squirrels, shooting at whatever, kind of throwing caution to the wind with noise, because it's not about killing a deer when they're that little and they're with you. It's about them going out there and having fun and building that fun core memory so that they want to go back to have more fun. That's why every time I took my kids hunting, and I still to this day, we get up. If we're going to go local here, go small game hunting or something, we'll get up. We'll go to the gas station. And as soon as we stop at the gas station, what do you want for breakfast? Get donuts, chocolate milk, whatever. And then we head to the woods, because they always know when we go hunting with Dad, we can stop and get donuts for breakfast. We can, get a big old thing of chocolate milk. There's always plenty of snacks, just to build that repetitive, fun memory that every time they think about going to the woods, we think about, like I said, getting donuts. When I was a kid, my dad used to buy the little powdered donuts. He called them Georgia donuts. Still calls them Georgia donuts. We call them Georgia donuts. We called them Georgia donuts because we would get them every time we'd go to Georgia and bring that bag of powdered donuts with us. So just building in those repetitive, fun little memories and having that BB gun and allowing them just to shoot pine cones, and shoot at leaves, and shoot at grasshoppers. And this year my daughter had hers, and she was going to shoot at a rabbit. If a deer is close enough to shoot at it, let them have at it. But the thing is, you just let them have fun. Management of expectations. You don't need to go out there, and if you're hunting for meat and you've got to put meat in the freezer, then it's probably not a good time to bring the kids. And that's okay too. I didn't always hunt with my kids when they were little. My son was younger. Fortunately, I had the ability to hunt, with my dad still, so I could set him with grandpa or whoever else, and then I could go sit by myself and shoot a deer. And as he got older and he sat longer and he was more quiet, we started seeing deer. And then we got to the point where I shot a deer with him in the tree stand, and the first time he saw that, he was a bit emotional, which is understandable. But ever since then, let's see, how old was he then? He might have been, maybe 4, maybe 5 at that point when I first shot a deer with him in the tree stand. He got a bit emotional at first. He was kind of weirded out by it. And then he was all in. He's going to help drag the deer or whatever else. And then fast forward, 2 or 3 short years later, and here we are. He's 7 years old. I'm taking him to the woods. It's Alabama youth season. We've got some private property up there. So we took him out. We had private property there at that time, at least we were hunting on. Took him out, set him up, shooting a 6.8 SPC AR-15, like no recoil whatsoever, a great gun, 150 yards, great for a kid. And I really like the AR platform for kids because it's so adjustable. You don't need to buy a youth rifle, and there's such a wide variety of calibers that fit in that AR platform that you can just build an upper receiver, and was it 350 Legend, I think is the new one, the straight wall cartridge, or 6.8 SPC, 6.5 Grindle, 300 Blackout, 223 will kill a deer too. Make sure you're using the right ammo. And we set him out there with that 6.8, and he killed a buck the first afternoon at 75 yards, dropped him in his tracks. And take it to the processor. Next morning, wake up, shoots a doe. 2 deer, 2 days. 2 deer, 2 days, 2 hunts. An evening into a morning hunt. That was it. And he was hooked at that point. Then we got him started with he was shooting a 243 this year. Killed a doe with it. And he thinks he's just the coolest thing since sliced bread. Now, obviously, there's always a lot of safety measures that go into place with having kids around. Firearms, we keep everything locked up here at the house. He understands gun safety. And there's never been any mystery around firearms with the kids. If they want to see it, it's, yeah, absolutely. Let's get it out, let's unload it, let's talk about what it is, be it a handgun or a rifle or whatever else. I'm not going to shy away from showing them the guns or allowing him to, in a safe environment, shoot the guns, because then he's not, you kill the curiosity right off the bat. And then when we're not home, he knows better than to touch that if he even could get into the safe. But now my daughter, on the other hand, she is not nearly as ate up with it yet. So I took her at the end of this last season, and we went for about 5 days around New Year's after Christmas. She didn't want to get up in the mornings. She's got to get her beauty rest. And so she would go in the afternoons. First afternoon she ever sat with me in the tree stand. This will be one of my favorite stories for eternity at this point. First time she's ever sat with me, she's got her nice brand new pink Red Ryder. And we get up into the tree stand, and I'm setting all her, the tower blind, and I'm setting all her stuff up. And I'm like, I told her, I said, baby, just watch out the window while I set your seat up. Watch for deer. I'm thinking, sure. And I'm bent over, moving bags around, setting her snacks up, getting her seat going. And she says, Daddy, there's a deer. I said, okay, baby, great. I'm just thinking she's being goofy. And then she said, Daddy, there's a deer. And I stopped, and I look out the window. And sure enough, 200 yards away, standing down at the very end of this long shooting lane, off in the shade, there's a little button buck standing there. I was like, damn, you're right. There is a deer. That was a fun hunt. That was our first hunt together. She had a blast. We stayed until dark. She had never had a problem, never wanted to get down. I really enjoy having the kids in the woods. Now, my son terrified me when I was younger of, when I was a kid, and I think most kids are somewhat scared of the dark, I didn't want to be in the woods alone by myself in the dark. Shoot, now as an adult, there's still some sounds. Get the hair on the back of your neck standing up, man. It'd creep you out. So I go to walking with him. You give him a little flashlight, and you start off walking, and normally he's, right beside me. And I'm just peeking my way through the woods, trying to run into spider webs, and I stop. I see something, I think at that time it was like a big wolf spider down on the ground. You walk through at night with a headlamp, and you look out, and you can see all the little eyes on the ground, the wolf spiders. So I stopped to say something to him. I say, hey, bud. And I turned, and he's like 30 yards behind me, looking at another daggum spider back there. I was like, get your ass over here. He didn't have a care in the world. Still really doesn't care that much. But he loves being out in the woods. More than that, he loves fishing. So when I say, and why you take kids to the woods, hunting is there's a lot of adult onset hunting that happens now. Let's see if I can pull up some license sales stats. Hunting license sales by state. The last 10 years. I should have done that earlier. I'm not going to worry about pulling all that up. Anyway, hunting license, the spike in hunting license and interest in hunting kind of went up when COVID hit 2020, 2021. I think it was mainly due to the fact that people realized the disconnect between the availability of getting, of meat in the grocery store, and that we can sustainably source it ourselves from the wild. And then you also had a lot of people who weren't at work and had all this extra time to go to the woods. So license sales spiked, and you saw a lot of what is referred to in the hunting world as adult onset hunters come onto the scene, which is great. So now you've got adults that want to come out and learn to hunt who never hunted as kids. Well, having taught adults a lot about hunting, it's easier to teach adults, obviously, because you don't have to, there's kind of less explaining involved of things. But I think kids they remember more and they trust you better because, well, they don't, you're an adult and they're a kid until they think they're just hot stuff, like my son. He knows what he's doing. But again, when I say management of expectations, it's knowing that, like when we talked about with Lobo's Adventures a few weeks ago on the podcast, it's going out there knowing that you're probably not going to see or kill deer today or turkeys today or whatever, but you're going to go out there. If your expectation is to go out and sit in the woods, sit in the tree stand or be in the woods for 30 minutes, see nothing, and then the kid's done, and you make it an hour, then you've exceeded your expectations. If you don't expect to see deer and then you do, you've also exceeded your own expectations. You want the best opportunity, you want to give those kids the best opportunity to experience hunting in the woods. But you also don't want to make them suffer, right? If the weather's going to be really poor, I don't shy away from cold because we can bundle them up pretty good. And I usually carry like a sleeping bag, a good sleeping bag for the kids, and you can like roll it up and clip it to the bottom of my backpack. And then we'll get up in the tree stand. You can take boots off and then slip them into that sleeping bag. It keeps them a lot warmer, even with all their clothes on, you know, especially their feet. It's hard to keep kids' feet warm. But I've found that taking the boots off and then slipping them into maybe some thicker socks with some stuff on, you know, whatever you can to keep their feet from sweating and improve circulation is going to keep their feet warmer. Keeping kids comfortable, keeping kids mildly entertained. I always try to make sure I've got a good place for them to sleep if they're coming out first thing in the morning. Because they're tired. My son will pass out in a seat. My daughter will just crawl up in my lap, go to sleep. We had built box stands in the past that had a bench along the back that was wide enough to lay a sleeping bag out on. Just lay them down on there. You could put your bag and stuff underneath of it, which was nice. Lay the bag out on there and let them go to sleep until they're ready to wake up for the day. Also, too, here's a big thing. When I hunted with my son when he was younger, you could wake him up at 5 in the morning. He was excited to go hunt. And then he might make it 30 minutes past sunrise. He's ready to get down. He wouldn't go to sleep in the tree stand. Well, but if I would let him sleep until sunrise at camp, 7 o'clock, and then we would sneak out together and go get in a tree stand, he would sit till 9:30, 10 o'clock. So we started doing that, and we had a lot more success because we're just in the woods longer. In fact, the first deer I killed with him, we did that. We sat until I stayed at camp till 7:15 or so. He got up, got dressed, and then we headed out, and I shot a buck and a doe in the same hunt together doing that. And I've shot a doe doing the same thing. But prior to that, when he hunts now carrying a rifle, he's ready to get up, go out to the woods, and be in a stand all day. But your main focus should always be with kids. Number one is gun safety. Take all the time throughout summertime and the off season, teach gun safety, teach, how to utilize the tool and properly use the tool. Practice shooting. You can start with a 20. If you're going to use a rifle with an optic, you can start with something like a 22 with an optic, so don't have a lot of recoil, and you get a lot of practice in that way. Learning how to use a scope, how to acquire your target in the scope, buy like the life-size paper printouts of deer and let them shoot at that paper target so that they know, you're looking at a deer and you can show them where you want them to aim on a paper target. It's not just like verbal explanation of what's going on. They actually get to physically see where they should be shooting at a deer. And then always encouragement. It was hands down one of the most exciting moments I think I've ever had in the woods when my son killed his first deer. And that's actually, there's a video in our YouTube. You're going to watch it. 7-year-old kills his first 2 deer with an AR-15. And the kids now ate up with it. My daughter loves to go with me as well. She just wants to go hunting with Dad. She doesn't really care what we're hunting. She just wants to go with Dad. And she's convinced that she's just going to shoot a monster buck the first deer that she shoots. Which my son, I think he won't admit it, but he's kind of sweating in his boots a little bit that she's going to kill a big one before he does. And she might, and he'll cry. I get it. But such is life. She doesn't want to shoot a doe. She wants to shoot a big old buck. But don't a bit of suffering is good. But a lot of unnecessary suffering is just not worth it. I found it funny one time. I was hunting with my buddy Tristan, and I taught Tristan as an adult a lot about hunting. He had hunted some when he was younger, but not in the sense, we think of stand hunting. And he had never shot at a deer. He killed his first deer when we hunted together. And I remember the first morning of the season, we spent the whole summer scouting together. The first morning of the season, we go out, and where we were hunting at, we could hunt with a shotgun right off the bat. So he's hunting with a slug gun. And 10 minutes after sunrise, boom, boom. I text him, did you get her? Oh, he got him one. That's what he says. I'm like, all right, well, sit tight for the next couple hours. That's what I'm telling him. Like, then I'll come get down, and I'll come help you find it. And I sat there for about 45 minutes. And I was like, man, what am I doing? I hated having to sit there with my dad after I shot a deer and just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And so I climbed down. Now, he's a grown man, granted. I climbed down, I walk over there, and we get to looking for that deer. He did not hit that deer. Well, he did, but it was a non-fatal wound. He clipped her in the leg as far as I could tell. How much longer do we go after that? Another couple weeks, I think, and he ended up shooting a button buck at like 125 yards with a home defense shotgun shooting Foster slugs. How he hit that deer, I have no idea, but he did. And I was pumped for him, but dude, taking the kids out and doing that, I can't wait to get my daughter out. We'll have her shooting here before too long. Probably shooting a 22 this summer some. Her brother's 22, and then another year or two, and we'll get her out there with a rifle as well, trying to kill some deer. I love hunting with my kids more than anything. That's my preferred method to hunt now. Just take the kids, let the kids hunt. So it's a lot of fun. But I don't, like I said, I'm fairly new at it too. My kids are little. But we're getting there. We're learning together. And I think I learned a lot teaching an adult how to hunt. That poses its own set of challenges. But it's only easier in the sense of the fact that I don't have to explain things multiple times. just kind of everything kind of clicks a little faster. But it is fun teaching kids, and watching my son start to recognize sign and things of that nature, and seeing how fast he picks up on stuff. And then my daughter now recognizing deer tracks and turkey tracks and hog tracks and stuff like that. But it's funny what kids associate with a bad day of hunting, because when we first went out youth hunting in Alabama, the first morning we hunted out of a ground blind because it was raining. That was the only dry spot we had. And we set it in front of the ladder stand that he actually sat in that afternoon and shot his buck out of. Well, fast forward a few weeks later, we're back up there, and I wanted to set up a ground blind somewhere else just to hunt out of the ground blind. That was a good spot to hunt out of the ground blind. He didn't want to hunt out of the ground blind because you don't see deer out of ground blinds. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we sat in it that one time. We didn't see anything. I was like, number one, I saw deer. Just because you didn't see anything doesn't mean that we didn't see deer. But because he didn't see deer that one time hunting out of that ground blind, he didn't want to hunt out of the ground blind anymore. Now that's since changed. We hunt out of a ground blind, hunt out of a tower blind, hunt out of a ladder stand. We hunted off the ground this year, just sitting in some chairs in the bushes, in a small chair in the bushes, and he did really well. We had a doe at like 10 yards, just staring us down. And I'm just, telling him, don't move. We're hunting down here in Florida, so we couldn't shoot her. And that was his first chance on public land, too. Let me get that straight. I wouldn't have taken my kids so young if I had to take them out on public land, because I have the ability to have better control on a private lease or private land over who's out where, knowing where everybody is from a safety aspect of it. But this year, at 8 years old, we went out on a limited quota draw and hunted on public land on the ground. And we saw deer, saw a bunch of deer. And he thought it was a bad weekend hunting because he didn't get to kill anything. It's like, dude, you saw like 15 deer on public land in Florida. Like, that's a hell of a weekend. I didn't see a buck you could shoot, but dude, I'm pumped. We had deer all over us that weekend sitting on the ground. But he also hunts out of a saddle. He's got a hang-free saddle. Hang-free sponsors our main show, one of our sponsors in the main show. He's got that youth series or youth size Challenger series saddle, and he hunts out of it really well. And it's just fantastic. He's getting now where he wants to shoot a deer with his bow. So he's shooting a Diamond Infinite Edge. And right now I think he's at about 25 pounds. I told him that I have to get him up to about 40 pounds before I'm going to let him shoot. And he's working hard, getting there. He's out here shooting all the time. He sits up in you can't see it right now, but there's an orange tree right here behind me. And he's built him a little fort up here, and he sits up in there with his bow and hunts squirrels. He hasn't hit one yet, but he can keep arrows in about a 10-inch group at 30 yards, which is better than some adults. So he's not doing half bad. And I think maybe not this bow season, but definitely next bow season, he'll be ready to hunt with a bow. And that's going to be awesome. I'll be pumped for that. If he's ready by next summer, I'll take him out and hunt some pigs with a bow. He's going to get his chance next weekend to go on a turkey hunt, try and get his first turkey. He was giving me a hard time because I haven't killed a turkey either. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. About, he's like, what are you going to do if I kill a turkey before you do? I was like, well, bud, I said, you've got one major advantage over me when it comes to turkey hunting, and that is that your dad is taking you turkey hunting. I'm not a big turkey hunter. My dad never was a big turkey hunter. So I just never got the opportunity to go when I was little because my dad didn't go. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to take him. Gives me an excuse to get out in the woods, gives him another way to get out in the woods in the springtime. I'm excited for it. Hopefully we can double up and both get a turkey on the ground. I'm hoping that old Hunter, Florida boy, Hunter Roteris, Florida Boy Outfitters, he might come out there and do some calling for us. And hopefully we can put some birds on the ground. Before you as well, AJ, yeah. He might show us all up. Hunter's gonna let me borrow his little 410 turkey gun for him to shoot. My son has a 410, but I can't put chokes in it, so I don't want to spend $50 on 5 stinking shells for that 410 and not have a choke in the gun. Although being as it's legal on private land to shoot a centerfire rifle, I thought about just throwing some double-out buck and that 410 and calling it a day, but I don't think we're going to go that route. We're going to go with the 410 turkey gun and some turkey shells. I let him hopefully put one in the dirt. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can double up. But I'll be sure to let you guys know next Sunday how it went. Like next week, we'll just have a turkey tail. But until then, I'm always open for more questions. You guys like and subscribe to the video. You can send me questions at underpressureoutdoors@gmail or anywhere on social media. You can leave them in the comments sections of these YouTube videos. You can ask them live on the air and I'll answer them. We'll answer your questions best we can, and we'll keep this thing rolling. Tomorrow morning on the regular scheduled podcast is Trey Larson with Florida Game Recovery talking drones, finding dead deer with drones using the thermal drone, which is really cool. But till then, I'm going to shut this recording off, and I'll hang out with you guys for a minute here on the YouTube Live, and then I'm going to bed. Oh. I had somebody tell me last week, it's not live. Because it's dark here? I live on the East Coast. This goes out everywhere. What do you mean I'm not alive? See if I can look through these comments here and see what we got going on. Well, I'm gonna hop off here. You guys have a good night.